Hello, my name is Linda Bobbitt, and I'm here to tell you a little bit more about the Congregational Vitality Project and some tools that are available to you as a DEM. Let me take a minute and share with you my screen. This is a website called congregationalvitalitysurvey.com or congregationalvitalityproject.com. And as you'll see, this is the website we talked about last October if you were at the all-staff meeting. There's been quite a few improvements, and I want to walk you through those so that you know what you can do. First of all, you can see on the home page here that there's a new video. This is designed for congregations to show them how to use some of the tools available, and I encourage you to watch that. Up here under the Resources tab at the top of the page, I'll click there. There's several resources, including a couple of new ones that you have not seen before. As you might recall, back at our October meeting in Chicago, I shared with you two tools. I shared with you the Quick Check and the Checkup. The Quick Check was a two-page survey that talked about sustainability and vitality, and the Checkup was a booklet. Those are still available. However, with some feedback we've gotten from many of you, we realized we needed slightly different tools for the congregations to have a conversation specifically around the annual parochial report. And so we've created these two documents, the parochial report discussion guide and a congregational short vitality survey. The discussion guide, I'll show you right now, it's a two-page guide. And the first page is those same questions you saw before, and it's self-scoring. So people mark what they feel, they write it over here, they total it up and average it, and they come up with this score. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. This is intended to be handed out in, say, a council meeting at a congregation or with some other leadership team within a congregation. Everyone should fill it out on their own, total it up, and then come to the next page and then use this guide for conversation. We felt like this guide might be more helpful to congregations that this is their first introduction to the idea of vitality. It doesn't talk about sustainability. It only talks about how a congregation connects with God, each other, and the world. And it helps them talk about why different people in the group might have answered things differently and what to do about that. And then it talks to them about how they might use the information from that conversation to put it in their parochial report. Okay? So that's that resource, and congregations are pointed to that on a couple different pages that you can hear about in the video. The second resource is brand new. It's in response to some congregations who don't just want to hand out the survey during a council meeting, they want to give it to everyone in their congregation. And so here in this case, it's just a one-page report. It's not self-scoring. It just asks everyone in the pew to put a mark in a box and then to describe who they are. And the idea is that these are all collected up after worship and hand-entered by someone at the congregation's office into the online survey, and then they'll get the report from there. Again, you can watch the video on the home page to learn more about how that looks. I'll go back to the home page now. But I want to spend most of this time talking about what you as a DEM can see for your synod. And really, you can share this login information with anybody in your synod who you want to have access. So I'm going to begin by signing in using the ELCA email that you have. If you don't have an ELCA email, then we used the one that you got this an email sent to you with the password. The password I'll enter in for myself. And now I've come into what's called the congregation lookup page. There's actually three different things I can do from this page. First of all, I can see all the surveys that are currently open, and this is from any synod and any kind of survey. So you'll see here there's quite a few congregations who are about to take the survey or who maybe requested it but never did send in their surveys to us. That happens too. There's actually two kinds of surveys I'll talk to you more about, but right now I'll tell you that the ones that only have the name and date are congregations who have gone through the process I just described. They've logged on themselves and they're going to be hand entering their own survey information. The congregations with more information are ones whose DEM signed them up in a process I'll show you in just a second. But that's how you can tell if someone's requested a survey and we haven't finished the report yet. Now, if you want to see all the completed surveys, and actually I should have said completed reports there, you can look up your own synod, hit submit, and here we are. Here's a list. So it's each congregation, their city and state, about when the survey was done. Pay more attention here to the date than the year, I'm sorry, than the whole date, because this is more about when they were uploaded to the server. How many people responded to the survey, and here's their actual report. And these look different based on when they were done. In this case, Northwest Washington was one of the 7 synods that participated in the initial development of the tool, and so their congregations actually have reports. And it's very possible that their congregations have never even seen these reports, so they have some great baseline data to work on. And then for your convenience, I created this composite score, which is basically an average vitality score of those same 15 items that are on the other surveys. So you can kind of at a glance tell how they're doing. Remember, it's a scale from 1 to 5. 1 is not good, 3 is meh, 5 is great. You want 4 or better in general. Okay, so that's that. Now back to our lookup page. The last thing I can do is look up a particular congregation, and when I'm there, I can order a survey for them. But before I do that, I want to show you more about what that survey entails. I've already showed you a couple of surveys that are available for congregations to fill out. They're the quick one-page, 15-item surveys. But there's also something that's available to just you as a DEM, and that's what I'm calling the Comprehensive Congregational Vitality Survey. Here is what the survey looks like. I'll make it big. It's a bubble sheet. It's on paper. It's actually 2 pages long. Let me make it bigger for you. And it has the same items as those short surveys, but it has additional items. For instance, it asks you to describe how well the congregation helps children and adults grow in faith, how well they pray, other kinds of information about the congregation itself. In addition to asking people to describe the social climate, are we in harmony? Is there tension? That kind of thing. But then it goes beyond asking people to only describe the congregation, and it asks people to talk about themselves as people filling out the survey. How is their pace of spiritual growth? And then on the next page, how do they feel supported using their gifts as individuals? Are they equipped to share their faith? Are they comfortable inviting people to church? Those kinds of questions about themselves as participants. And then, what have they been doing in the past 12 months, and how often? How often do they come to worship, donate money, do advocacy work, have meaningful spiritual conversations in and out of the congregations, or invite people to church? And we also ask them what things about the church are helping or hurting it. And finally, we ask them to describe the overall vitality of the church. And so, as you can see, this survey really gives you a much more detailed perspective on what's going on in the congregation. Here's a sample report. It's longer. It's not a 4-page report. It's actually a 10-page report. And I won't go through the whole thing, but you'll get the idea pretty quickly. It's broken up into scales of how they're connecting to God, how they're connecting to, these are some more of the specific individual items, and how they're connecting with each other, and then the world, and then the overall vitality at the end. So hang on just a second here. So when would you want to use this report? Well, we've been using it for about 2 or 3 years now, and what we found is that it's really effective with 2 different kinds of congregations. The main kind it's effective with are congregations that are actively wanting to look into what's next for them. They're in the middle of a strategic planning process. Maybe they're entering into a conversation, a transition and leadership process, or maybe it's just time for them to kind of take their next steps, and they are ready and actively looking at that, and they're pretty healthy. Generally, from the outside perspective, you can tell if they get this information, they'll be able to run with it. Those congregations can usually do exactly that. They take the survey, you share the results with them, and then they kind of figure it out from there. Maybe give them a couple resources and off they go. The other group that can be very effective with are congregations that you are personally working with and walking with. We've had a few congregations now who were trying to decide whether or not they wanted to stay open, and their DEMs were working closely with them. But they were really having trouble having that conversation because it felt like the Synods telling us what to do. When they take this survey, they can see for themselves how much energy there is and how people are feeling about not only their faith, but also the church and what they're doing in their faith life and what their outlook is for the whole congregation. And then they can see, wow, most of us don't even think we'll survive much longer. Maybe we should be talking about it. So it's been a really helpful tool for the DEM to use to engage some of those harder conversations. So what I encourage you to do is think about who in your synods could use this information, either because they're rearing to go and just need a little more information, or because you plan on spending some time and walking with them. And in either of those cases, I would recommend that you go ahead and sign them up for this survey, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But when you sign people up, do keep in mind that the idea is that you would get the results yourself and then present that to them. There will be videos coming up in the future that show you how to interpret the survey and give you some ideas of how to share that information with congregations. But for now, I just want to show you how to sign up for the survey. So let me go back to sharing my screen. There we go. Okay, we are back. So over here, like I said, we sign in like we did before. And here I'm going to look up a particular congregation. Actually, I have one right now who wants to take the survey. I think this will be the second time they take it. And you can look it up by any of these things. You could type in their congregation ID, you could type in your synod, but then you'll get a list of every congregation in your synod. In this case, I'm going to type in their name and the city that they're in, which is Kendall, and that's enough. Sure enough, there they are. So when I click on that congregation, I see their address right here and their phone number. Now make sure this address is correct, because when they get the survey, it'll be mailed to this place, and so that's important. Now down here, you can see under survey requests, there's nothing listed. That's because I guess this is a brand new survey for this congregation. They've not done it before. And under reports, again, no information. So there's instructions about the survey process here, and then there's a way to create the new survey. Let me go ahead and create the new survey and I'll talk you through it. So the first thing we have is, who are you? And that would be your name, in my case, my name. And that's who is requesting the survey. So it could be you, or it could be someone else in your synod's office. What survey do you want to take? Now, right now, there's only one survey available, and that is the Comprehensive Survey for Established Congregations. We are working on a Spanish translation for that right now. The idea here is that the congregation's been around long enough to have things like a council, teams or committees and budgets, and some kind of facility they meet at regularly, and all that sort of stuff. We are in the process of developing a new survey for new ministries or mission congregations. We're actually piloting it right now, and we're hoping that will be ready by April. But for right now, this one here is the only one you can choose. Well, the only one you should choose. Now, how many surveys do we want? And it refers to price level. As you might recall, when we met in October, we pointed out that in order to be able to allow any synod or any congregation to take this survey, we just didn't have the capacity in Chicago to process that all, because it's pretty time intensive. And so we have contracted with the University of Northern Colorado and through myself to make that happen. And therefore, there is a charge based on the number of surveys that you need. In this particular case, the congregation wants 50. And here are the price levels. So you can see it starts at $100 if there's very few, 150 in this case, and it goes up from there. Now you can choose who is going to pay that $150. Is it going to be the congregation, or is this something your synod's going to pay as part of how you walk with them? In this case, it's the congregation. Okay. When do they plan to administer the survey? In this case, it's going to be on the 24th. And when do you need the final report? He told me actually 15, in about a month. How firm is the due date? Now, sometimes you'll be putting this in because you have a meeting scheduled with them and you really have to have the report done by then. Please tell me if that's the case, and I will kind of hound the folks in at the university to make sure we get the data in time. This is all assuming that the congregation actually mails it back. In this case, he just picked a date. So now this is the person at the congregation itself, and we'll only use this information if there's a problem with mailing the surveys or getting it back or anything like that. The idea is that we will be communicating with you about it and not the congregations themselves. However, what you need to know is the finished report will show up where the congregation can see it, unless you don't want it to. So in the case of some congregations where it's really sensitive and you want to be the one to present it to them, you don't want someone accidentally logging on and seeing it, you could type here something like that, and I will put it in a section of the logon screen that you can see but the congregations can't. Okay, so I filled out this form and I click submit. Now, two things happen. One is you'll see this new instance has been created. That means our database knows that they have asked for a report, and it has generated an email that comes to me. What I will do next, and I'm going to click here on survey instructions because it walks through the process a little bit more. I'm going to make it big for you. Here's the prices, and here's the process down here. What happens is I use that information to create an invoice, and that invoice is sent to whomever you told me to send it, either you or the congregation. They can pay the invoice by check and mailing it in, or they can pay by credit card just online. Once payment's received, I'll send a purchase order out to the university. They will send the physical surveys. And so people will be getting the surveys in an envelope from the University of Northern Colorado's Social Research Lab. It will have instructions and a pile of surveys they can hand out in worship. And that is, by the way, the best way to do it. Hand them out in worship, ask everyone there to fill it out, collect them all up and send them back. Once they're sent back, the university scans them, fixes any problems with them, gets them to me, and I generate the report and then post it online. So let me show you an example of that. I'm going to look up a different congregation. I'm going to look up my test congregation here. It's called Anytown Lutheran. And you can see here we've created several requests for surveys. And in fact, they've completed one of their surveys here as a PDF. So I can here look at the PDF. And here we see their short survey. Now, just a reminder, anytime a congregation does this on their own, the PDF here, you'll be able to see it too. Now, you'll also see this section called Special Reports. If you ask me to keep it private, I will put the report over here. The congregations can't see the special reports, only you can. And in this case, it is the longer of those two reports, the 10-page version. Okay, and then I'll call your attention to the second thing, that we have a second request for survey. And here we have a total of 3 responses, but no PDFs. That means they're still taking the survey. So they have an open link. They're probably still entering data or collecting data. And when they're done, I will create a second PDF. That is all I really need to show you right there. I'll stop showing you that. Okay, so that's a quick tour of the new website and some resources for you. Keep checking back and feel free to email me. It can be the linda.bobbitt@alca, or you can send it to office@congregationalvitalityproject.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and hope you enjoy this new resource. Thank you very much.